Hey everyone, I'm going to show you how you can visualize your DBT models by connecting your DBT Cloud account to your own Lightdash deployment. We've just launched a one-click deployment with Heroku, which is a service for hosting your own servers. And today we're going to use Heroku to deploy your own version of Lightdash. So the starting point is to head over to the GitHub repo. And then if you scroll down the page, past Katie's video, you'll see this button here. So deploy to Heroku. And you want to click this one, deploy for DBT projects on DBT Cloud, because you can develop metrics, play with them in your DBT project, and then see them instantly update in Lightdash. It's pretty cool. For more production level deployments, you'll probably want to use GitHub as the backend. But this time we're going to use DBT Cloud as the backend. So I'm going to click this button. Now, if you don't already have a Heroku account, it's free to create one. You'll get prompted at this point to basically sign up. Your first app is also free, or that you can have up to 5 apps for free. So you can basically run your own private version of Lightdash, fully hosted, and it doesn't cost you anything. So I'm going to come up with a name. So I'll just call this Lightdash demo. Nice. And then there's just a little bit of configuration, some variables you need to fill in order for Lightdash to be able to connect to your DBT Cloud account. So I'm going to show you how to grab those variables now. So you need an account ID, an environment ID, a project ID, and an API key. So I found the fastest way to get these is if you head over to your DBT Cloud account, and on this left bar on the side, you want to click environments. And then under here, you're going to have an environment that has type development. So if you've already set up your credentials, you should have this development environment. And then you click on this. Also, please check you're using DBT version 0.20. You should be using it anyway. So I'm going to just show you this quite slowly now. So to get your IDs, they're all up here in the address bar at the top. So I'm going to get the account ID, you can see it says cloud.getdbt.com/accounts/ then a number. That's your account ID. So I'll go ahead and just copy that and then paste it here. And then next I need the environment ID. So I see it says /projects. Okay, let's get this next. The project ID. So the ID always comes after the noun, basically. So projects, project ID, environments, environment ID. Paste this in here. And then finally, we'll grab the environment ID and pop that in here. Then the last thing you need is an API key. So even if you've never used this before, everybody's DBT Cloud account will come with one. So if you head over to your profile, then on the sidebar, hit API access. And under here, you have an API key. Now remember, this is essentially a password for your account. So you don't want to be saving this anywhere as plain text or giving it out. It's just for you. So I'm not going to reveal my API key, but what you would do is you just copy and paste the value here and you pop it right in there. After that, there's 3 variables that are just Lightdash specific, which just make sure you get your own secure deployment that nobody else can get into. So you can just ignore those. These are set up for maximum security already. And then you just go ahead and click deploy app. Now this does take around 5 minutes or so, I found, to build the app. You'll see a bunch of logs. And then after that, about another 5 minutes for the app to come up. So maybe go grab a coffee or something like that. So I've actually already deployed this. So you'll see this create app happens and a bunch of logs fly past. And then eventually it will say, tick, it's been deployed, and you can view it. And again, after this point, it sometimes takes a couple of minutes to come up. So I'm going to go ahead and press view. So when you first sign up, you get to create an account with Lightdash. So this is just to secure your instance. So I'm going to fill in my details, Lightdash demo. And create. And this is just going to create an organization and the first user. Now, at this point, it's really common that you might get an error saying that it can't connect to DBT Cloud or that it failed to submit a job to DBT. That's usually just because you don't have the development environment open in DBT. Lightdash connects to your own developer instance, not your production instance of DBT, which allows you to play around with metrics and query data without doing anything in production. One great feature of DBT Cloud is it just creates this development environment for you when you log in. So that means if you're not logged in, the development environment doesn't exist and Lightdash has nothing to connect to. So just make sure that you have Lightdash open in front of you. All right, cool. So I'll give you a really quick rundown of this DBT project I have. It's really, really simple. I have 3 sources, which are basically page view data for the Lightdash web pages. And then I just have a single model called pages. And like each row in the output table from this model is just a page view. So there's a unique ID for every page view, the time that it happened and the page that the person visited. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and also some referral data. So which websites did they come from? So I'm going to hop over to Lightdash, and you can basically see that on the left, I have this pages table, and every model that you have in DBT basically becomes a table that you can explore in Lightdash automatically. So you don't have to configure anything extra. You just plug it into your existing DBT project. So I'm going to go and click into my pages model. And again, automatically, a bunch of dimensions have been created, and they map one-to-one with the columns in your model. So you can see I have this ID, date, and path. And if I head over to Lightdash, I have the ID, date, and path here. And so, for example, I could look at the date and the page path that was visited. And this is just going to get 500 rows of data from my table. So it's kind of a quick way to just see what the data looks like. But again, this is something you could do in DBT Cloud or maybe in your SQL Developer Console to just look at the outputs. Things get a bit more interesting when you decide to write your first metric. So to write a metric, you can always go over to the Lightdash documentation. We have a bunch of references and guides on how to get started with writing your own metrics. But the first one I almost always write is just a count of the number of rows. So we can start grouping by different dimensions in our data and see how many rows are inside those groups. So the way we do that is we just edit the existing DBT model. So I'm going to write meta metrics, and then you just need a name for your metric. So I'm going to call this total page views. And the type is account distinct. So the number of unique page view IDs is the total number in my case. So this is where, business logic becomes important. And it's really useful to just have this all in one place within your DBT model. So all I have to do is press save. And this is the awesome thing about deploying Lightdash with DBT Cloud is that these are just completely connected. So I just have to press refresh DBT. The refresh time will compile your project. So if the project's huge, you might have to wait a little bit before you get the results. Mine's really small. So straight away, total page views is popped up on the left here. And now I can start querying my data and exploring it and plotting it a little bit. So for example, I might, actually a really common query we do is basically how do people end up on the Lightdash pages? So where do they get referred from? And a really quick query for that is I can click referring domain and show the total page views for each referring domain. I'm just going to show the top 6 results and sort it from the domain that has the most page views to the least. So basically, which domains are people most frequently referred from to Lightdash? So I'm going to hit run query. And again, so it all just runs against your DBT Cloud target. And here are the results. So you can see that most come through with no referring domain. I could actually quickly filter that out. So let's say I want to see results where the referring domain is not null, because that's not very useful. And then once we get those, we can just quickly pop out a chart. We can do this now. So there we go. So the top ones are GitHub. That makes sense for us. And then Lightdash and a bit of organic traffic from Google. And then I can just pop this out into any chart that I like, export it as a PNG or export the CSV. So that's it. The fun thing about working with DBT Cloud is that you have this really nice iterative loop. You can quickly change a metric in your DBT Cloud models and then instantly see them update in Lightdash and start visualizing and exploring them. So this setup works really well if you're working on your own and developing metrics. If you want to go to production and you want to have other people within your team also use Lightdash, then you'd be better off with a production deployment, and we usually recommend using GitHub as your backend instead of DBT Cloud. And I'm going to show you how to do that in another video.